Welcome to the WellPlayed DLC podcast, Australia's juiciest gaming podcast, powered by SteelSeries. I am Zach Jackson. Joining me is Nathan Hennessy.
Hello.
James Wood.
Howdy, gamers.
And we are delighted to have Christie McWalter here joining us this evening. Christie, how are you going?
I'm good, thank you. Thank you so much for having me.
That's all right. It's great to have new faces and new voices on the podcast. So thank you for joining us. We have a very exciting topic. Well, I think it's quite exciting. So look forward to
good pick.
Good pick, whoever that was.
It's better than our usual. When we bring folks on, we pop them with the old should Last of Us actually get a remake? That's normally what and then 50 minutes goes.
All right, I have
50
three. Before we get stuck into it, I have three quick fire questions for Christie, and this is without notice, so she's not expecting this.
Okay. Oh,
All right, favorite video game.
Witcher 3.
How do you eat your ice cream? Sorry, what do you eat your ice cream out of?
What receptacle do you use for your ice cream consumption?
Like a small bowl that is like kind of higher up on the edges so it doesn't slip off, like not one of those flat bowls, like a well-rounded bowl.
But still a bowl.
Yes.
Cool.
Do you ever resort to alternatives outside of the bowl family?
No.
Cool.
Not so
unless
quick
it's like a takeaway ice cream, maybe like a those cups that they come in. But no, if it's at home, I'm going to be eating it out of the bowl.
Okay. And third question, thoughts on Nickelback?
Oof.
No. Just no.
Okay. Well, we got one right. Actually, I did an interview with someone today at work, and I asked them about Nickelback, Icebreaker, and all stuff, and they're like, "Who?"
Oh.
And I was like, "What?" So then I was like, "Oh yeah, you know the song Photograph," and I was like, "It's Photograph," and
I used to have friends that loved them. And I just no, not for me. After that,
the Friends.
Well, yeah, I'm not friends with them anymore either. But yeah,
Us.
There you go. Right, well, I won't share my love for them with you then. But anyway,
I'm not surprised.
She's devastated.
All right, look, definitely fitting right in. Great, been here 2 minutes and I've already copped it. Love it. Alrighty, let's.
I have a habit of doing that.
That's okay. Look, it's been a punching bag spot over the years, so I'm not sure if there's any feeling left in that anymore. Just cop it. But no, good to have you here, James and Nathan. Good to see you too. How are you guys?
Always. Yeah. Cold. I'll be honest. Still cold. Like I know that I get that we're in autumn and I get that it's only going to get colder. Like I understand how this works. I still don't like it. I can't quite accept it.
Yeah, the acclimating's hard. It's kind of thrown my exercise rhythm out. Yeah, I just got a sore tummy. It's the same old story for me, but we'll cruise through tonight. You folks will keep me distracted.
So no more talk of ice cream, right?
Oh, yeah, that's part of the problem, eh?
Although.
Cool. All right. Has anyone been playing anything that is not review or content related that they want to talk about? Christie, what have you been playing over the past few weeks that you would love to share with us?
I would love to talk about. Honestly, I've talked too much already online about Hello Kitty Island Adventure, but I've finally just broken my addiction to it. I cancelled my Apple Arcade subscription, so it's over. I'm not going back. The relationship is done. I checked my save file for that before I stopped playing it, and it was like 70-something hours for an iPad game, which I just feel is too much.
Why'd you stop? Is it a gacha game or?
No, it's because it's on arcade. Like you don't have to pay anything for the content, but it's just one of those ones where they'll like drip feed you the content.
Okay.
And then it kind of in that way makes you keep renewing your Apple subscription. Which that is the only game on the subscription that I was playing. So like $10 or whatever it is a month is a lot just to play with Sanrio characters on a fairly basic story kind of thing. I got to the point where I was like, I think I've spent enough money on this. So I kind of cheated a bit at the end and time traveled so that I could like get all of the main story content out, and yeah, I'm just like not going back there.
The kitty had her claws in, but no longer.
Exactly.
With Apple
I
Arcade,
finally beat the addiction.
are there many new games that come to that Apple Arcade? I feel like you don't really hear much about it.
Not too many, no. Like they
Yeah.
just did kind of recently. They added like a Tamagotchi game, which I think is pretty much the same as the Hello Kitty one. So I just didn't even get started with that because I want to get addicted to that too. But yeah, like Hello Kitty is probably the only thing that was like exclusive to that made me want to use the subscription service. Otherwise, there's stuff that you can get elsewhere. And then yeah, they just add like the odd thing. So it's not like a huge draw card personally, I don't think.
Fair. Cool. Anything else other than Hello Kitty, or just giving the iPad a good
I'm
workout?
in a bit of a rut at the minute after that, honestly. I've gone back to playing Minico's Night Market that I reviewed in like
Oh yeah.
September last year, I think, which is kind of like the same concept of like a little cutesy game that just sends you on a whole bunch of fetch quests, but it's not subscription based. So I paid for it once and it's mine, so that's good. Well, baby steps.
Nice. And that's
That's cool. Yeah.
what's that on?
That's on PS5 that I'm playing that one. So yeah, I
Cool.
just bought the physical game from the store after I originally reviewed it because I just wanted to give a little bit of money to the devs because I liked the game so much.
Nice.
It's nice when that happens, isn't it?
Yeah. Yeah, I was really glad that I got to review that. It was a really, really cute game. I think it's only made by like 2 people as well. I think there are a couple.
Oh.
Yeah.
Just on that, just to quickly, we're going to maybe jump forward. I don't think this is in the news because this was mentioned a couple of weeks ago. But tipping the devs, like what do we feel about that? What's his name? Mike Ybarra. Do you know what I'm talking about? He was like, oh, if you love a game, why not tip, $70 is nothing these days or something, give the devs a tip kind of thing.
I mean, I don't know if $70 is nothing these days. Like,
yeah,
but
not a great
I
place
think,
to start the argument from.
Yeah, like at the same time though, if you're talking about $70 being like the price of the game and thinking about how little of that they actually get, I think from that perspective, yeah, like developers definitely don't get enough for the work that they do when you consider it could be years for a small dev team working on something, and then they might only sell the game for like $30. It's definitely not enough money for their work, which I feel like we probably all know what that's like. But but if you really liked something, maybe tipping them isn't like a bad idea. It's not necessarily hadn't thought to do it. It's kind of more like I've bought merch from devs at like PAX and stuff before because they were like, oh, we're trying to like, raise funds to keep going with the development. Like we'd love to like sell you like pins or whatever. I don't see a problem with doing anything like that. Like if you if you want to help out, then for sure. Like I guess it just the only area that might be like an issue is if people are being like super pushy or entitled about it. But I don't think most people would be.
No, I think the main kickback on that was the fact that this is coming from a guy who's basically worked in AAA dev space for a long time, and it's like, well, who's getting that? If you tip them $15, for example, who's getting that $15? Do you think the devs are going to get that, or is it going to go straight into the coffers of the company? But yeah, anyway.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, totally different story. Like comparing indie devs to
of course,
AAA studios. Yeah.
You guys been playing anything for funsies? What is fun, eh?
Fun is fun, but no, it's all been for content.
Sorry about that, mate.
It's fine. It's all good.
Nathan, how about you?
My content pool at the moment is a lot of the same genre, so I kind of need something to kind of palate cleanse us at the moment. The kind of multiplayer go-to that I'm kind of dipping in and out of is still Helldivers 2. I'm a late comer to it, and it's still very, very fun.
What a time to join as well. The community's never been more
what a
together.
wild weekend that's just had. I'm sure maybe we'll touch on it later. And the actual game between games, because I wanted something that was very different genre-wise, quite frenetic. They'll be able to get through in 1 or 2 sessions. Max Payne 3.
Okay.
A Rockstar game from 2012. So I sat through that for start to finish for the first time. It's all right. Like it's a third person. Say what?
How'd you play it?
How did I play it?
Yeah.
PC,
Like, how did you
Okay.
get? Oh,
Yeah, okay.
that makes sense.
which was the way to go because you can pump that bad boy right up in terms of the graphics. It still looks remarkably well because it's got a lot of that Rockstar tech under the hood, which is fantastic. So it still looks great. Stories all over the place. It's clear that it's like not Remedy's vision. It's far much more like something like Kane and Lynch within with a Max Payne veneer. It was okay. It's got very little downtime. It's taking you from one set piece to the next. It's very much of that Uncharted caliber of third-person shooter, which I don't love. Like, it's fine. So I had a nice time with it. I was more impressed by the technology behind all the ballistics and physics and stuff like that, and just having fun with the set pieces. It didn't really engage beyond that. It's probably my least favorite Max Payne story, but I'm really keen to see what Remedy come back with when they put it through the oven again that second time.
That's fair. I think I played that when it came out, so I was like 21 barely, and
It
like
would have
that's the
been
perfect
really
age I think to
impressive.
play Max Payne 3 because it's you're still learning a lot of your tastes at that point. But
Sure.
like Health is like they've stayed with me ever since that game. Like I think that they did like the theme song basically, or the song for the moment in that game. So I really enjoyed them. I just remember it being like an aesthetic powerhouse, but you're right, I
Oh,
can't remember the
absolutely.
story at all. So
Like, don't go near it if you got like epilepsy or anything like that. It's
No.
so flashy and weird and wild with its presentation, but the story is just so silly. It's like, it feels like it's written by an edgy 15-year-old. It's a weird, kind of amalgamation of what 1 and 2 did. But it's it was a fun 7 hours or so. Whatevs.
Nice one. All right. Well, you two have been cracking away on content. Nathan, you want to kick us off with No Rest for the Wicked?
Yeah, absolutely. So, No Rest for the Wicked's was coming to early access on Steam from Moon Studios. These are the studio best known for the Ori, Will o' the Wisp, Blind Forest games. So these folks kind of know their thing when it comes to art and aesthetic and presentation. I haven't played too much of those games, so I can't really speak too much on the gameplay front, but obviously every time you see anything of those Ori games, they're quite stunning. There's no debate there. So they've clearly been able to take that talent over to No Rest for the Wicked, which is a very big genre departure for them. It's it's a lot of things. It's kind of a Soulsy game. It's kind of an action RPG. It's got a lot of survival crafting elements in there. So you're going to be, virtually punching rocks and trees and stuff like that, and building workshops and tables and benches to upgrade stuff, all that kind of thing. But the big standout here is it makes a remarkable first impression. This has an identity and a narrative and characters that games with a heavy like survival crafting bent normally don't have. You're usually inserting, your experience, your emergent narrative onto those games, but this thing's real tight. So you play. It's been a couple of weeks since I opened it now, but you play a Serum, so this character that's kind of immortal. This explains this respawn mechanic, but they can't properly die. They come back alive at their last whisper, which is effectively a checkpoint as the game gamifies it. You start off on a ship that's taken over by these rebel forces called the Risen that are, I don't know, there's this whole political narrative somewhere in the background that doesn't really make sense with what we've got in the early access, but a king has died, there's a rebel faction rising up, shit's happening. Because of the rebels on the ship, we get marooned on an island called Sakra, and a short time after you're like wash up on the beach, that's where you sort of come to grips with the combat system. So it's got your endurance and your rolls and your parry and all that you expect in a Souls game. It doesn't have things like XP loss and having to reset your progress and all your enemies respawning and those kinds of things that are in the Souls game. So rather than it being a Souls-like, it's more of a Souls-light. They've just taken little elements of the Souls games and really, refine them quite well. So combat feels very impactful. The screen shakes, the sound effects are really heavy and clang about, and the control of vibration, the feedback, everything about the combat feels really nice out the gate. So it's as I say, it's making a great first impression. Short time after that, you get your first boss fight, which is, for these games, it's not a pushover and it makes you feel quite triumphant. It's this quite grotesque creature. There's a lot of kind of fucked up body horror monsters sort of lurking on this island, as well as just your regular swords and shield rabble. So there's a lot of different creature variety already in the early access to experiment with and learn. So there is a remarkable lot of variety, but you fight your first boss, you get into the first town. It's called Sacrament. Not a very bright play on words, with the island being Sacra, and there's a lot of allusions to like Diablo's Sanctuary, so that's kind of on the nose there. But again, very pretty. There's cutscenes very tactfully placed throughout your progression here that are remarkable. They kind of look like, I think in my preview I said, kind of a cross between the Netflix Riot League of Legends series Arcane, as well as the aesthetics of the developer Arcane from Dishonored, Prey, and the like. So it's got this really bold presentation that's just remarkably satisfying. A fixed camera angle, so you're not going to be like panning the camera or anything. But what this means is the game also offers up a lot of platforming and a lot of density and depth to its world. So how you begin to navigate is you'll be going up vertically. There's a lot of verticality, more so than another fixed camera adventure like Diablo 4. That's normally just you're kind of moving on a flat plane. There might be some cave, some walls sort of blocking you off, but that's not really the case here. You can kind of climb and scamper over anything side along. You're very agile, so the movement kind of surprised me. I'm not used to that in these kind of Soulsy types of games. So it's all quite remarkable. Then you hit an issue about 10 hours in where there's kind of 3 main areas and it doesn't quite have a difficulty curve between them. So you kind of hit a hard wall. It's not really, but like it's going to be extremely challenging to progress. Very, very tedious. Each time you die, your health items don't regen or anything. You've got to go and find some craftable bullshit and then go through the process of crafting all of your health items and potions and everything back up. That's a bit tedious. Your weapons are going to kind of hit a wall and you're going to have to grind chopping down wood for ages and ages and rocks, and then upgrade some workshops so you can build better equipment. And then that actual upgrade is going to cost you an hour of in-game time. So there's a lot of these barriers and a lot of this padding that just feels like fluff that doesn't really belong. And it's kind of fine. Like, it doesn't turn me off the experience. It's just that kind of early access stuff that they're going to tune. And I feel quite confident about that because all the fundamentals here feel fantastic, and the loot has a satisfying drop rate, and it looks nice, and your characters are going to have a nice identity. It's hitting all the right notes for me, but as I say, once you hit about 10 hours, it just starts putting up all these walls with just insurmountable difficulty, lots of survival crafting, bullshitty grind that's clearly just there to pad out the game while they're tuning it up. And so it may not be a must buy in terms of the early access at the moment, but I come away from it just in love with pretty much everything I saw. Very happy to forgive any of its shortcomings because, again, this is stuff I can't see it making out of early access. All the stuff that's there, though, that is good is great. And I'm really excited for it. And hopefully we see more of it. Or hopefully we see a final release in the next year or so. The next big update is going to be multiplayer. This game it claims to be very heavily focused on a 4-player multiplayer. I'm not sure how that will pan out, but I guess we will see. That's no rest for the wicked.
Very cool. Anyone got any
There's a lot
interest
happening
in this? James, you eyes are...
Yeah, like I mean, like it ticks a lot of my boxes, obviously, like being the Souls person. But okay, when you say an hour in game, like a literal hour?
Oh yeah,
because
the game just expects that you're just going to go back into the wild and do some other shit while it's ticking over in town. And to its credit, there is absolutely enough to pull you in different, like you're never short of things to do, because also it's got your Destiny live servicey daily and weekly challenges, which are going to help you with that grind. And again, it feels a little bit odd in the experience. But again, maybe when you've got mates along, and maybe if you're all contributing to the shared objective of those weekly and dailies, that might be a nice little wrinkle. But it's pulling from so many different genres. They don't all work, but at least everything you see on the front facing side of things is just immaculate and so impressive.
Nice.
Cool. Christie, do you have any interest in this at all? Because this has kind of gotten some good airtime, I think.
Like it's interesting in terms of like world building. I mean, not so much like creativity in names, but I don't know. Yeah, I'm always tempted by the Souls-like stuff. Like I'll get dragged into it and then I'm like, oh, now I'm really annoyed. So the fact that it's Souls-light, maybe I would find it more enjoyable.
Super approachable for someone that's kind of curious about the Souls genre, but always hits your barriers with them. You know, it doesn't present those typical barriers at all. Just kind of cherry picks the satisfying parts of it. And the world building, like you alluded to earlier, is one of the best things about this as well. This is one of my favorite And again, well, I've only seen like 12 hours or so. One of my favorite renditions of a Souls-like kind of world where there's a lot of environmental detail and you kind of go off the beaten path and you find something that feels really important. You're not quite sure where it is, but you know the game's going to... the game kind of teases you. It's like, we'll come back here later. It's very, very cool.
Love that stuff.
Nice one. Nice one. James. James. You've been...
Speaking of worlds to get lost in, eh? You know?
Speaking of those.
You like that one? Yeah. Set you up for that. Well, I mean, I did it for you, but you know what I'm saying. Yeah. Sea of Thieves has finally hit PlayStation 5. This is the, 2018 rare pirate game, I think?
No, 2018.
It's older than that. Come on.
It's got to be 10 years
Is
at
it?
least.
Hang on.
Or maybe not 10 years, but I might be getting...
Help me Google.
Let's get a fact check.
Initial release date.
Checking.
It is 2018. Shit.
There you go.
No
All right.
way.
Well done.
Little
gonna fact check that fact check.
Jewel.
this-
So look, finally on the PlayStation, this is part of Microsoft's big push to venture out into the world with Xbox games and whatnot. Couldn't think of a better one than this. A live service, open world, multiplayer pirate adventure where you get to dick around with your friends in the open seas. Like it sells itself basically. It also... It's weird talking about this, right? Because it's not as if I'm explaining a new concept to everybody. It's like we all roughly know what Sea of Thieves is. And so I'm not going to sit here and be like, oh, it looks beautiful, like a cartoon, kind of Wind Wakery. Like, we get it. We know what Sea of Thieves is. I am having a really good time with it in the way that you have a good time with a live service game. And so, suddenly 4 or 5 hours will have passed playing with my friends and I'll go, I feel like I need a shower because I feel kind of gross about how much time I've given over into this game. Like, it's a great feedback loop, hopping on a boat, going to find treasure, fighting skeletons. I don't think any of these mechanics are particularly amazing individually, but when they come together as a holistic experience, when you've got your friends there and you've got your little pet dog that you take out of your chest and the little accoutrements that come with a live service thing of expressing yourself in a game, it works on you. And so you find yourself lulled into this nice sense of, oh, we could do one more pirate fort. We can do one more deep dive for treasure. We'll find another shipwreck. And then again, it's been another 4 or 5 hours. And so it just kind of keeps rolling on in a way that I think is a very effective example of the live service loop because nothing is overly challenging. There's no real edges to grate yourself on. It's just all smooth sailing for the most part, right? And then there's this massive PvP focus that also just runs throughout the game. So part of this being a 2018 game, you've got 6 years of PC and Xbox players who have built up this community that is very much about, hey, if you see another player, just go fuck them up. Just steal their treasure. We're all pirates. It's all cool, bro. And it is. But also when you're brand new to the game and, the default setting is for crossplay to be enabled, it is a really jarring experience to have the first time you see another player, have them be in a ship that looks like it costs 2 million more gold than yours and they sink you in 30 seconds and everyone's laughing at you on mics. I like that in a sense. It makes you feel like a bit of a dickhead. And I don't mind that, right? Because it's a pirate game. And I like the idea that people are encouraged to be pirates. I do just think though, as if you're going to have a whole new influx of players coming in on PS5, I would have done more to maybe make the default. You start within the PS5 pool, and that way you've only got other people who are still relatively new to this, still learning mechanics, making sure you don't feel overwhelmed by the community immediately. Because I think the line between, and we kind of saw this in Helldivers as well, the line between role-playing dickheadishness and actual dickheadishness is razor thin for most gamers, right? And so the tone in the community so far that I've seen feels very antagonistic in a way that sometimes is fun, sometimes isn't. But I've still put 22 hours into it in 3 days or whatever. So it's an absurd kind of time sink that I'm having a good time with. I kind of expected there would be more to it. I'll say that. I think, we talked about what was Ubisoft's Skull and Bones? Scully B. Yeah, big old Scully B that we 2 people reviewed in this chat. Look, and I remember when we played that game, it was kind of it felt very rigid in a lot of ways, and you can't get on other people's boats. You can't really kind of run around on your own. It's all very much a boat simulator, and we all gave it rightful criticism for those things. But in the background of that game, there was also a lot of sort of economic systems churning away, and a lot of different things that you could, in theory, have going on in the background to simulate more of a pirate world. And Sea of Thieves doesn't really have any of that. It's just got very basic dig for treasure, bash a skeleton with a sword. You know, it's a cartoonish version of a pirate fantasy. And I like that it's as easy and smooth as it is. But now looking back on Skull and Bones, I'm like, yeah, but we could take a couple of things from that and maybe make, you know, Sea of Thieves feel a little bit more systemically engaging, I guess. But yeah, I don't know. Like, very good, but a live service game. So, you know.
Nice.
Mm.
Good stuff.
Yeah.
Anyone jumping into Sea of Thieves on PS5? Is anyone a big Sea of Thieves player just in general outside of?
I dip in and out of it on PC, and it's entirely dependent on, again, like I'm sure James is finding if the friends are online.
Yeah.
If they're not,
Yep.
if I can't get a party, like it's even awkward if it's just me and one other dudes. Like we're just on our little 2-person dinghy. Fucking let's go. Just make it small talk. Two people
sails,
minimum,
please.
Yeah,
yeah.
There's good times to be had, but it is wholly dependent on who you bring along, and that's always fickle with a multiplayer game, isn't it? Like, where do you draw the line on the criticism there if you're having to bring other people in to make up for things? Anyway.
Yeah.
Well, speaking of having to bring people in to make up for things, Nathan, you finally finished your Ready or Not review. No thanks to us, because after that first time we played, we didn't ever go back with you. But you know, we wanted to, so it's the thought that counts. But you've now finished it. So tell us about your full experience.
Yeah, okay. So if you've not heard of Ready or Not, because I don't know about you folks, but when this popped onto my radar, it was kind of controversial. Like, this was a game that was simulating kind of like tactical police forces, SWAT teams, and it looked quite realistic, and it was in quite confronting scenarios. We're talking like as a random instance that very much does appear in this game, like a school shooting, and you know the reality of that is quite gruesome, and therefore because it's a realistic game, its depiction is quite gruesome. So I came into this on a bit of a shaky footing. I was like, is this just going to be a gratuitous game that's kind of, you know, feeding shock value, and that's what I'm going to get out of it? That wasn't really the case though. So this is this is developed and published by, I think it's a Irish indie outfit called Void Interactive. And what they've put together here is they've tried to pitch a spiritual successor to these, like the later SWAT games, like SWAT 4, which was, again, like a realistic police sim type of game from, again, Irrational Games, so the BioShock developers. So this was, I think that came out like 2004, 2005. There's been a big lot of years before we've seen like a lot of games that really go that hard tack police sim route. Like even like Rainbow Six has kind of distanced itself from that a little bit. So this is also going back to kind of the old Rainbow Six games. It's going to put you through 18 levels in the fictional city of Los Sueños or Sueños. That's effectively like it's a fictional Los Angeles, right? And this game kind of gives you no front loading. As soon as you open up the game, there's no splash screens. Immediately, you've got a menu that's, do you want to jump into single player or multiplayer? Whichever option you choose, it's the same thing's going to happen. You're going to get thrown over to your local police station. So the police station is effectively the lobby that you can maneuver around in first person. There's like a firing range, and there's like a locker room, armory. There's also like this central room where you select the mission. What this means is, in multiplayer especially, if you either host a game or want to join a game, it's going to chuck you into the police station, and you have no ability to see. There's no information about the other players. They could be new, they could be experienced. You don't know. And they're going to select a mission that may be too hard, or there's no information given as to what mission they're going to select. So then next minute you're jumped into a game. It might just be you and one other person, and there's no bots and no support. The issue with that is this is a hardcore game, and it is not uncommon to load into a mission. Again, this happened to me plenty of times. The school shooter mission, load into that, put you in the car park, school shooter sees you through the front doors and clips you. Like, that's the first 5 seconds of your game. There's no respawns. So you're going to spend the rest of that session observing your teammates through their body cam, provided you've got teammates. As I said, whenever I loaded into multiplayer games, most people would be so excited that some person's popped into their police station, they immediately jump into a mission. And the game doesn't seem to scale, and 2 people sort of covering each other whilst also addressing a bomb threat or a hostage negotiation situation. It's just the 2 of you. It's tough. Ballistics are super realistic. So as I said, it only takes like one well-placed bullet from an enemy to drop you. That's it. That's your game done. So what that does create, though, is a magnificent sense of tension when it works well. If you've got a few players with you, like Zach and I found that if we had about 4 of us, and we were, I think at one point we were like trying to clear out a meth lab that was sort of set up in this neighborhood between like a separate set of houses. Yeah, and they'd got like an underground tunnel system between them and stuff like that. And that's also one of the things I love about this game. It doesn't just create a map that's effectively a shooting gallery. There's always some kind of weird twist with how they've created their little world. And then how they detail it is they spare no expense and no detail. And it sounds silly, like decor and posters and whiteboards and stuff like that, but every little bit of it is so immaculately detailed and deliberately put there as to give a feel for who are the people, what is this place, and really makes this world feel lived in. And this is a game that doesn't have any cutscenes. It has very little dialogue. You get like an introductory briefing that kind of tells you who the baddies are, what you need to bring along. It doesn't have any heavy front-loaded narrative, so it's really surprising that I got so invested in the game. And you start to, it doesn't heavily tell you this, but some of these levels, these missions are kind of narratively connected. You might be following like a organized criminal cell through different operations, trying to dismantle them. It might be a biker gang or something like that. And each of those 18 missions, which is quite a surprising thing to say, is like fantastic. Like there's none of those missions, if I was loaded into them, I'd want to be like, oh, I don't really like this one, let's move on. Each of them usually have some kind of twist. There's this one that I particularly like that you'll see early on. It only takes about 5 minutes. Some of these missions, because you're a tactical response team, you'll fill them out pretty quick. You might just be slowly, again, very slow. There's no sprint in this game. Very slowly walking around a compound, taking out guys. Missions complete, call it a day. But there's like another like meth lab in the woods, and there's this dude that's in full like camo gear. He's disguised with leaves and stuff, and he's kind of like crawling through cracks in the walls and climbing under like beds and stuff like that, kind of stalking you as you go through the mission. So there's been a lot of attention here into creating these really weird experiences in what seems like a fairly straight-laced military shooter. I didn't think that it was as straight-laced as I first thought. It definitely wasn't as gratuitous as I expected. Even when you are doing things like going and assisting a school shooting, you're not going into a situation where people are being executed. And that it is kind of a backdrop, but there's enough environmental detail here that will unsettle some people. And on top of the fact that, as I said earlier, it's very realistic looking. It's also very realistic sounding. The way ballistics go off had me jumping very frequently, because you almost count every bullet that's fired in a match. Like it's because every bullet counts and every bullet's lethal. Every time a gun kind of goes off, you panic and you're looking around and where is it? Because that could be the gun that's going to drop you any second, and you're out of the match for the next 20 minutes. It's a frightening experience in a thrilling way that I really enjoyed. I won't really mention too much on it. There's also a single player that's great for onboarding. You get to control 2 sets of AI that makes it really good for learning how these levels are kind of structured, so you kind of get familiar with them and repeat them, because the enemy layouts always change. You're always going to be surprised. You're always going to be on your toes. There is one big issue, aside from, as I said, the lack of matchmaking options, and the AI is a little bit funky in the campaign mode. But then there's also the issue with slow. Oh no, I think that's almost it. What was the other big issues we had, Zach?
Well, the biggest one we had was
Marco Polo, wasn't it?
And
remember that time that we had one person left? Yeah, the controls are a bit of an issue. It's kind of like takes up your entire keyboard at first, but you kind of remap it to be elegant. It's just weird out of the box. I didn't mention it in my review because it's like a 2-minute fix. It's just a pain in the ass. But you have this issue with the AI where, because they kind of stalk you sometimes and you're so slow, if a mission doesn't finish until everyone's taken care of, so to speak, passively or however it may be, you have this Marco Polo situation where you're both at a snail's pace following each other, or your team following this random person around a building or a compound. And sometimes the AI just bugs out, and they might just be chilling in the toilets, the last place that you would expect to look, and they're not responding to anything, and their AI just kind of bugs out. That's so frustrating, and it happened about once in every 4 missions. And I know it happened with us and Zach as well, where we were having to like go around screaming out like, "Put your fucking hands up, get the fuck down!" Like you get your characters screaming out, and it's supposed to panic them into responding. And sometimes the AI just doesn't respond, and they've just cooked it in some back alley somewhere, and you've just spent 20 minutes looking for them. That sucks, and that happens way too frequently. So because of that, this is a game with really clear highs and really clear lows. It's a little bit unfortunate that I've had to come in at a 7.5 because it's a game that was so remarkably satisfying when it worked well. But then on the other hand, so frequently did it have such big like holes in its design. As I said, the fact that multiplayer just, unless you find someone in Discord outside of the game, like a community outside of the game, there's just no way to play multiplayer in a satisfying way. It's so fucking slow, and that AI can be so sloppy. Like they're for a game that doesn't have a lot going on, those kind of crucial pillars being a little shaky at times is a bit unfortunate. So maybe it'll improve with time.
Yeah, I think the only thing that kind of stopped me coming back is just the controls. I'm not a keyboard and mouse player, so
yeah, if you're not already a keyboard mouse player, it's incredibly intimidating how this game presents its controls initially.
And I think from memory,
so there's a separate button for everything.
Yeah, there was one or two things in the tutorial that didn't make sense either. Like you had to, I can't remember what they were, but anyway, that's neither here nor there. 7.5, nice work. All right.
Moving on.
Yes, Capes.
Yes. Yes. So I've still been a busy boy. I'll be very brief on this one. Capes, Brisbane indie game, we've mentioned over the past couple of weeks, being published by Data Lake Studios, developed by, I think it's Spitfire up in Brisbane. And this is kind of presenting a little bit like an XCOM game, like the modern XCOM games with superheroes on the ground, kind of street level superheroes, like your Spider-Man type, not your kind of intergalactic alien punching dudes. And this is set in a place called King City, where pretty much all the superheroes have been removed from the city by force, and they've been taken away and effectively experimented on to, I don't know, create super soldiers for a private military company or something. It's very cartoon, like Saturday morning cartoon schlock. It's fine. But it also has quite an adult presentation, so it's quite violent. They're not afraid to drop a few F-bombs here and there. So you kind of got to take that in stride, that it is still, despite some sweariness and that, it is still very much a kind of childish superhero jaunt. It's light on in terms of plot and narrative. Like the characters are kind of like one-dimensional. They're either like sarcastic or, super proud, but they're fine. The core gameplay is very similar to, I suppose, what we might have expected out of Marvel's Midnight Suns. So you've got your kind of grid movement, action points, a couple of special moves, and you can kind of, if your superheroes are in close enough proximity, because it's turn-based, you can tee up these kind of like combo moves with one another. It's very deterministic. There's no kind of random chances. And there's when you get put into a scenario and it kind of sends the company goons after you, which is pretty much the only flavor of enemy I've gotten, just various kinds of armed goons that are there to take you out. Yeah, like, I don't know where I was going with that, but it's fine. It's light. Oh, it's deterministic. So there's nothing random. So it becomes like a puzzle. Each of the missions becomes like a puzzle, which kind of stressed my brain out a little bit because I like to kind of roll the dice in a lot of tactical games. I like to take risks. This isn't the kind of game where you can do that. If you do something stupid, the game's going to punish you because there's no random chance. So you have to kind of plot out everything quite meticulously. It's very puzzle-like like that. And it works really well. And from what I've played, super polished. Gameplay is really satisfying. It's quite challenging, but in a good way. Like, it's well tuned. Definitely one to watch. I think it's remarkably well presented, and it looks like a pretty high budget XCOM like game. Like, if you told me this is from a first outing indie studio in Brisbane, I'd be really surprised. This is pretty impressive looking game, and it's definitely going to please a few people, particularly if Midnight Suns wasn't quite the turn-based superhero game you're after. This might scratch that itch.
It comes out
late May 30?
I'm trying to get the date here. May 30.
May 30.
Spot on.
Definitely one to watch.
Very nice, very nice. Anyone going to check that out when it launches? Anyone an XCOM-ish fan? Christie? Nah.
No, not really. No. It sounds interesting,
same
but
boat.
yeah, you can admire something, but not actually,
Yes.
have it be
Mhm.
your thing.
Oh,
But just not-
absolutely. And this
but
will
just not
appeal
Nickelback
to a
though, right?
very particular kind of person for this one. Absolutely.
Hmm.
Very nice. Good stuff. Well, your no, there is no previews. Don't go read that because it's not there. But good job, well done. We look forward to reading the review.
Yeah, okay. You guys take over now. I've talked myself dry.
All right, we got a couple shout outs here. Now, don't have a go at me if I butcher this guy's person's name.
Mark?
So,
Mark?
oh, is that how you say it? So Mark has he reviewed Sandland, and he writes, Sandland manages the tough task. God, I can't even read it. The tough task of translating an enjoyable story without overdoing the open world mechanics in the process. It's rough in places, but it's respectful adaptation of Toriyama's work
Got it
and
in
a
one.
pleasant experience throughout. 8 out of 10. Good job, Mark. Well done. The other quick shout out we got is Nathan and I actually spoke with big fan of the podcast and lifelong friend Charles Cecil about Broken Sword, so you can go check that out on the YouTube there. Very, very exciting.
Lifelong friend. I love how when we wrapped up that chat, first thing you said is, that guy doesn't know who I am.
He remembered at the start, and then at the end he just he had
Faded
forgotten.
out of
Lifelong
memory.
fan.
Huge fan of the podcast, so tunes in weekly. He said we didn't get that on recording, but he definitely said it. Trust me. All right, cool. Let's go to a ad break. Ash is going to give a quick shout out to SteelSeries. Take it away, Ash.
SteelSeries is renowned for its innovative and award-winning products that elevate your gaming performance and experience, and the new range of Alias microphones are no exception. Alias microphones feature a capsule that is 3 times larger than most microphones on the market, giving your recording richer and deeper audio. And with the free-to-use Sonar software, AI-enhanced noise cancellation eliminates the background noise that other cardioid microphones will capture. With Sonar, SteelSeries has tailor-made an audio suite that offers the complete solution for content creators who want to manage their EQ levels, personal and stream mix, and it works seamlessly with programs such as OBS and many, many more. Available now, Alias microphones and Sonar features everything you need to take your content creation to the next level.
Good stuff, Ash. Thank you again, SteelSeries, for sponsoring the WellPlayed DLC podcast. All right, exciting time. It is discussion time. We don't do many of these normally, but we're gonna get one going now. And the discussion topic is games that live rent-free in our heads. Yeah, it's just games that you just can't stop thinking about. That you've played them once, twice, 10 times, however many times, and you just keep going back to it, whether it's you play it or you just can't stop thinking about it. Now, Christy, we haven't heard much from you tonight, so I would love for you to kick us off with whatever you've got there.
A few games. Yeah, there's so many games that I could say, so I'm just gonna pick whatever comes to mind. Probably the first would be Elder Scrolls series I think about a lot. The ones that I play a lot of is like Skyrim and Elder Scrolls Online. So a lot of stuff that you're saying, James, about live service games and those feelings of feeling gross after a really long play session. I was related to that just in terms of I don't play either of those anymore. But when I was in uni, I would go to uni all day, come home, do my work or whatever, and then play ESO all night until whatever time, sleep for a small amount of time, and then go back to uni. So I don't know. I think about that often. But actually, my introduction to that series was my older sister playing Oblivion. And this was when I was a kid. So she would play it and I would just kind of sit and watch her play, and then I'd fall asleep in her room every night just watching her play that game. And it just gives me those really nostalgic feelings of that's definitely not the thing that got me into gaming. I started playing when I was a very small child, but that's just one of those classic memories that I think about a lot. And sometimes if I can't fall asleep, I'll put gameplay on of Oblivion to fall asleep to on YouTube. So So yeah, that series as a whole, yeah, I think about a lot that lives rent free in my head, even if I don't follow the series as much anymore or like the direction that Bethesda has gone in. Yeah, it's just a classic. Like I feel like
James nodding very deeply. He totally gets that last statement.
I do have a lot of thoughts on Bethesda we don't have time for. So-
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. It's like whatever has happened now, it can't take away
Yeah.
those memories that you already have,
Agreed.
for sure.
Mm.
Another game I would say is there's a game called Yonder. I think it's Cloudcatcher
Mm.
Chronicles. By a small studio. I think they're
Was
called
that an
Pride
Australian studio?
Might have been.
New
Yeah, I
Zealand,
think
maybe? Australia? Yeah.
Just
They're
claim
making
it.
another game now. I think it's called like Go Go Town or something. It was at PAX last year.
Oh, those guys. Okay.
Yeah. So I played that game.
They're Australian, yeah.
Oh, there you go, Australian. Yeah. I played that game, I think like 2018. So it's been a while. But it's kind of a game that I just think of as being one of the earlier examples of what is now like the cozy game genre. Like it was
James's favorite.
Yes, I know people have opinions on that too, that genre. Not genre, but like subcategory. I don't know how
The
you want
marketing term. Yeah.
Yes, a marketing
love the
term, yeah.
games. The term, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah. Thoughts on that too. Yeah, that game I just like I picked it up because it was like in the bargain bin in the store, and I was just like, oh, this looks cute. And just started playing it with no expectations, and it was just a really good example of a like exploration based game without combat that was just like so it really just pulled me in, and it was like everything that I want in that kind of cozy game now was in that game, and I felt like there was a lot less of those back then, so it really surprised me. Yeah, and for that reason I still think about it a lot now, and I've like repurchased it on Switch when I originally played on PlayStation. I haven't replayed it, but I have a massive backlog, so I really should be playing new stuff. But yeah, it's just something that I think about a lot for that reason. So kudos to those small dev team.
Nice.
But,
Awesome.
Yeah,
That's right.
I could give you like a million other games, but yeah.
That's right. We can maybe go around and come back if there's a couple more you want to give a shout out to.
For sure.
James.
Yeah. Sorry, Yonder the Cloudcatcher Chronicles Enhanced Edition PS5 physical copy is only $19.95 at EB Games. That's absurd.
Yeah, I
Oh.
think the original copy that I bought on I bought it on PS4, and I think it was like $9 or something at the time. That was why I bought it, because I was like,
Okay.
oh, what's this?
Yeah, right. I mean,
it
anything under
doesn't
10,
sell
I'm
for
happy
a
to
lot.
try. Yeah.
Yeah, it doesn't sell for a lot, but there's a lot in there to keep you busy. Like a lot of collectibles, and the trophies are all like they add to the enjoyment of the game instead of kind of leaving you annoyed by the time you've gotten all of them.
Yes. I know just what you mean.
Yeah.
Okay. Couple of non-surprises, and then maybe one surprise. So Death Stranding stays with me pretty much always. I think anytime I play any game that is even remotely mildly antagonistic to the player, I think about Death Stranding and what that game did to make itself singularly its own thing, regardless of if you were going to enjoy it or not. And like there were large stretches of Death Stranding where it becomes almost like a podcast game, and its commitment to being boring and to giving the player space to just explore a world that way is something I've just never really seen before. I know that like Breath of the Wild and sort of Elden Ring, we've had these open world games come along since then that have done similar things, but those games are like fundamentally like fun fantasies, whereas Death Stranding is often just really dreary and really quiet and contemplative, and yeah, I don't know, I heavy fuck with what that was able to leave with me and to give to players, I reckon. Does anyone else here like Death Stranding?
Kojima really hurt you, man.
No,
that
I'd say
sounded
he
so much
fixed
like
me.
Stockholm Syndrome. The game's shit, but I fuck with it.
I do think Death Stranding as a mechanical experience is actually very, very tight and knows exactly what it's doing. I think it is fun to play. I like almost everything about it. Combat's a bit whatever, but who really cares? It's not the focus of the experience, right? But I don't know. I like and this kind of leads into my next one, but like I like a game that does something different with what we expect out of a genre, right? And so Death Stranding is not the open world game you'd expect. The next one is a small game called Eastshade from a studio. Also, I think Eastshade Studios is the name of the studio as well.
Oh.
But this is another. It's like a first-person sort of fantasy setting. You're on a small island, and there's no violence, there's no guns, there's like a couple of light puzzles, but mostly you're just walking around lining up a frame and then painting something, and then you can sell that painting. You can do them as quests. You know, Christy, you're talking earlier about how trophies can sometimes enhance the experience. Like platinuming this game over 2 sessions was one of, if not my favorite gaming experience of all time. Like it was such a great way to just see everything and do everything. It's cozy without falling into a lot of the pitfalls of cozy, I would say. You know, I don't think it's particularly concerned about pretending that the world doesn't have, like, you know, like they're fantasy animals, but there's like owl racism and whatever. You know, like, so it doesn't, you know, pretend like these issues don't exist. But it does present you with a world that is just very, very, very warm and friendly and intriguing, I guess, in its fantasy. So like I'm pretty much always thinking about those 2 games with open world stuff. And then Majora's Mask just never really went away since I was a kid. So you know, it was weird. It was kind of like for kid me, it was like, oh, I'm used to Ocarina of Time. I'm having a great time. What could possibly go wrong in my Zelda? And then Majora's Mask is like, what if death? So you know, I just really fuck with that.
Nice, good stuff. For me, I wonder if anyone you'll expect one of them. I think you'll be.
Is it a Broken Sword game?
Is it a Broken Sword game? Yeah. Or Dino Crisis.
It's not Dino Crisis. Broken Sword was in there. That's like there's like 4, right? But now that I've asked that question, I'm not going to say Broken Sword. But the first one I'll say is actually The Artful Escape. I still love that game and just everything about that game. And it was just 5 to 6 hours of just colorful fun, shredding a guitar, and just the amount of just creativity and vibrancy and the quality of the voice acting, like the quality of I think the writing is like really good. And that as in that piece I wrote whenever I played it, but like it really, really resonated with me with someone who is, you know, I moved from Tassie to Melbourne to chase a rockstar dream. I didn't get on a spaceship and go off into the galaxy, but yeah, you know, like just someone who's kind of been similar, you know, kind of feelings about, you know, wanting to chase their dreams. It was just, you know, and that game let me kind of not have some closure as such, but like, you know, it got me to kind of, you know, I got to kind of relive that to a certain degree. And I just love that whole, because it's really like a nothing game. Like when you think about it, like you don't really do anything. You just run. You
just kind of push forward. Yeah.
Correct. But that soundtrack, like I still play that soundtrack. A couple of those songs on that soundtrack, when I looked at my Spotify things like recently, it's in like my top 20 like most played songs ever on Spotify. Yeah, I really just loved that entire.
You know, Zach, you and I had a conversation about how that game had garnered sort of a reputation on Twitter, and I think in a lot of games media and criticism circles as being very much like a dad game or a dude game, right? And then I played it. I had a really good time with it, which kind of surprised me because I don't tend to go in for those sort of things. So yeah, Chrissy, I was just wondering, like, had it breached your sphere at all? Do you know of like any other women or I don't know queer people that played it that sort of had any connection with it or?
Like it came out at a time where I kind of just started reviewing or just before I started reviewing. So it was like on my radar, but I haven't picked it up yet. I know that it was other than knowing that it was successful and people really liked it, I don't really know anything further.
That's fair.
So that's interesting to consider. Like it kind of makes me be like, do I want to play it or do I need to play it then? Like, am I the right audience for it?
Yeah, I would definitely say so. I think anyone's the right audience. I think just sometimes, like, you know, the way that anything works on social media, perception sort of becomes reality for a lot of those spaces. And so I think if, you know, yeah, that idea germinates. But yeah, I was really surprised by it. I thought it was beautiful. So
Lovely. All right, my second one is a game called Roki, which is like a adventure game that came out in 2020. It is again like just a excellent and gorgeous art style. And what I really, really like about this game is it's not like a side scroller. That's the wrong term, but it's like a side scroller sort of, or a it's the wrong term, but there's side scrolling elements to it. But it's like a point and click kind of adventure game. But what is really, really cool about it is the so the story. It's basically about a young girl and her brother is taken by this monster, and it's like a Nordic like fairy tale kind of thing. And what is really cool is that there's no dialogue in this game, right? There's like what I called in my review emotional gibberish. So kind of like Sigur Rós. So you know how they don't really use words, they just use like emotion through mumble jumble, right? And this is kind of what this game does, is it kind of the way that the characters interact with one another. There's a lot of tones and a lot of emotion in that tone of voice, and it's just very, very heartfelt, like very it's fantastic. Like I really, really enjoyed it. I think I gave that a 9.5. The only reason why I didn't give it a 10 is because it was a tad bit too long. But then it's the old Last of Us Part 2 thing, right? Is that when I finished that game, after I'd finished it and done the review, I was like, God, I wish I had more of that game, right? So in hindsight, I probably would have given it a 10. But yeah, it was just probably a tad bit too long right at the end for me. But yeah, it's such a gorgeous, beautiful little game. And if you like adventure and like puzzle games, but don't like full on point and click games, then I would highly, highly recommend it. It's on all platforms, I'm pretty sure. So yeah, you can definitely get it on any platform. Look on Steam now. It's $30, but yeah. So there's that one, and then the third one. Quickly, you guys did mention Broken Sword, so I won't use that. But one game I did play in my childhood, one of the first games I played was Streets of Rage 2. And the game that I have become obsessed with is Streets of Rage 4. So I did the review for that when that came out, and that just reminded me, kind of like what Christie was saying about, all the nostalgia and stuff, and that, that took me back. That was such a modern version of what I loved about that game back, God, in what, the 90s would have been?
Sounds
yeah. So yeah, I just love that. I gave that a 10. I actually played that through with big old KV. Shout out when he was here. Yeah, he and I played that through, and it was just awesome. And I've not played it since. I actually bought the physical version, but I haven't unwrapped it. It's just on display. But I've always wanted to go back and play it, but I've never have. But yeah, they're probably three games that I quite love and often think about. Has anyone else played Streets of Rage 4? Or am I going to be the odd one out?
Play a lot of beat 'em ups.
But never Streets of Rage 4. That is like universally acclaimed, mate. That is a banger.
Well, it's certainly Zach acclaimed.
Okay, all right. God,
I think the last beat 'em up I played was Castle Crashers. So that should
Isn't that a good time? Yeah.
But that was also what, like 15 years ago? 10? Yeah. It's been a while.
Can't say I've heard of it. Soz?
Really? Okay, it was like back in the Xbox 360 era.
It was one of those Xbox arcade big heavy hitters.
No, I didn't play much 360. I got in real late. Yeah.
Gotcha.
All right, Nathan. What about your?
I guess in the interest of time, I'll try and keep my 3 brief. Nicely enough, got a little bit of crossover with Christie there. So I also noted down a Elder Scrolls title. For me, it was a little bit older. For me, it's Daggerfall, the second Elder Scrolls game.
Yep.
Yeah. So I guess with this assignment, this whole what games live in our head rent free type thing, I tried to go for something that was, or at least I was drawn to emotionally formative games. And that sounds deep in character building, but for me, this game was horrific. So very innocent young Nathan, kind of do-gooder child, didn't cause too much terror, pretty isolated little kid. Immediately captured by this open world. Like Daggerfall hits you pretty quick. I was only playing like a demo, I think, or a shareware, so I never really played the full game. But even then, sort of start on the outskirts of this town, and it becomes very clear to a young player that you can kind of go in any direction. There's nothing really holding you back. So in the case of wanting to explore, sort of lurch into the nearby town, the graphics at the time are blowing me away. But I mean, if you look at the game now, it's It's very 2D stencils. It requires a lot of imagination, but I was meeting it halfway. Inevitably, I would go into like the town walls. They'd have like palisades and big, like castle walls around them in some cases, or parapets. I would wander into the walls, and then like the guards would decide that that's an off limits area, and as soon as you rattle the guards, they're onto you, and they're going to chase you for miles. And I'd be like shitting myself. I'd get this intense fight or fight. Like for me, why this was emotionally formative is this is one of the first games that had my heart like pounding out of my chest, and I'd be like teary eyed as I'm running away because the controls are complicated. I don't know how to explain to the guards that I didn't mean to like trespass. I'm a good guy, right? I'm like bolting, and then they never really kill you, and it's like this horrific sense that like just covers you that you fucked up. But for me, it was like this real moral quandary. Like as a young player, I realized that I'd done a trespass, like I'd broken the law, and I was like, oh no, like does this have real world consequences? I was shitting myself, man. I was like 6. And then the other one is Gone Home. So later on, just around the time I've hit adulthood, I've kind of I've alluded to it before, but a very like fundamentalist religious upbringing, and I really took that to heart in my character and took that shit seriously. So then, kind of weaning off of that and kind of coming out of the church and kind of changing my perception of things and inform them by lived experience. I played Gone Home as someone that was quite, I guess, homophobic, for lack of a better word, and I don't want to say too much about Gone Home because I think it's still such an impactful game. But for someone who was having conflicted feelings about, I guess, love, to put a broad term on it, and how Gone Home addresses that, and what is initially quite a creepy atmospheric title, and how it addresses something so broad as that was very character defining for me, and very impactful. And then I guess the third one is Detroit Become Human, and not in a good way. I fucking hate that game. I don't know what everyone sees in that. That's what really lives in my head.
I was wondering where you were
what the
going with
fuck
this.
did
I was
people
like,
see in that game?
what?
All my
Yeah.
mates are like, Nathan, just shut the fuck up. That was an incredible game. One of my favorite games ever. I'm like, what is it? I don't get it. I do not get it. It's slow, it's boring, it's hand-holdy. The story it tells is so pretentious. If you've read a book, you've read that story 100 times and 100 times better. I don't get it. Sorry if anyone here likes Detroit Become Human. I just do not understand the appeal to that game. And I know folks, they don't just like it, they love it. And I'm on the flip side of that. Yeah, I think about it a fair bit, and it causes arguments. And I don't know what, man. It's just not that good. Just grow up.
Just grow up, eh? All right, Christie, did you have any other ones you want to share before we move on?
Yeah, like a few to mention because stuff that you guys have said has brought up things for me. How you were talking about the artful escape, that reminded me of a game called No Straight Roads, which is made by a Malaysian dev team. I think they're called Metronomic, maybe. And it's like pretty short, concise game. But I just really liked like the character design, the world design, and the kind of like narrative of just like sticking it to the man. That's kind of the summary of what it is. But you're doing that in combat that is like you being in a rock band and like playing the instruments. Like that's the combat. Yeah, I just thought that was really fun in co-op. And then also mentioning games that you think of a lot because you don't like them. I really didn't like the game The Witness, the puzzle game.
Okay.
Oh,
Interesting. Yeah. Cool.
I played that game.
I've wondered if it's a little overhyped.
I think it is. I bought it, and then it went on PlayStation Plus free games like right after that, and I was like, oh, I've just paid for it. And then
feels good.
yeah, love it when that happens. And then I felt like it was pretentious. And I can't really say. The ending of it is just it completely undoes everything that you've done in the game, and is like the most generic way of ending something, of being like, oh, it wasn't real. If that, yeah.
Wow.
Do you know what I mean?
yeah.
It's
It was
so
all a
bad, in
dream,
my opinion.
kind of.
Yeah, literally.
Okay.
No, I can relate to this. Like, I definitely felt it was a little bit pretentious. I didn't quite get it. I never finished it because it seemed like such a marathon. Like, when it dawned on me how long it was going to be and how frustrating it can be at times, it's like, no, not for me. impressive. Do you know how long it took you to finish? Like it's a
Oh, it
sizable
was a
little
long
game.
time. Like this is probably like 2018 when I played it, but I reckon it would have been at least like 20 hours.
It felt too
Um,
long though, right?
yeah, it felt too long, and there was like the last puzzle to get the last trophy to get the platinum. I could never beat it because it was a time trial to do all of the stuff that you'd been doing through the game, and you had to do it within the length of a song, like a classical music song. And it was just no, no, no. I don't often leave stuff like that, but I was just like, this is not worth my sanity.
Mm.
It's terrible.
That is the correct choice.
You've
Yeah.
you've made me go back through the archives here because our good friend and editor Kieran Stockton, he reviewed this game.
Ooh.
Now, pop quiz more for James because I feel like Nathan might already know, but if you don't know Nathan, have a guess. What do you reckon? How do you reckon KS felt about this?
He always surprises me when it comes to like first-person games without combat.
I think he would have gone a 9.5.
Nathan, what do you,
Okay.
Nathan, what do you reckon?
I think he would have gone something more like just a solid flat 8.
He gave that a 10. And he says, Jonathan Bellow's superb creation matches cerebral puzzle design with absolutely stunning visuals, and the end result is a testament to the power of innovation and creativity. And he writes the good, and there's 3 things there. And then in the bad, he goes, this space left intentionally blank.
But only 3
There you
good
go.
things.
Yeah, well, I mean.
He also gave Detroit Become Human a 9, so we
Oh,
can...
did you go back and check
I
on
looked
that?
it up while Nathan was talking. Yeah.
Oh wait,
Also, if
I'm
we're
going
being
to bring that
haters,
up over
Discounted.
PAX Rigs.
that's it. Yeah. If we're being haters about rent-free games, the God of War reboot is mine. I
Okay.
think that kicked off a terrible, terrible trend, and no.
Hallway
won't have it.
brawlers.
Yes. Oh, I'm such a sad dad. Fuck off.
Hmm.
Tell someone who cares.
There you
Zach, do
go.
you have anything that you rent-free hate?
The only one, and I can't remember the name, so that's not really a good start. But remember that game? It might have been like called Broken Pieces. Remember that game that was that one that was in the lighthouse, and it had like the little
Yes.
zones, and it had the crystals. Fuck, I hated that
I think I
game.
know.
I remember
Yeah.
this.
Oh,
Oh,
I
yes,
I think I played a
do.
demo of that.
Oh my
Ooh.
god! I thought
I
the
got
demo
to
was going
watch
to
Zach break down in real time, trying to explain his experience of this thing.
I actually refused. Yeah, it is called Broken Pieces. So
Oh, it
66 on
certainly is.
Metacritic. All those critics are on drugs, mate. You didn't review it, did you? By the way, yeah, I fucking hated this. God, I hated this game. I couldn't
It
review
did
it in the
live
end.
in your head rent free. You were bringing it up for months.
It
Oh.
was.
And now you've I finally buried it, and now
You've brought it all back up.
yeah, that would be the just probably there's probably a better example, but I can't think of one off the top of my head. So that's probably tells you everything that you need to know. James.
You, Martha.
Yes.
Oh,
let's
Martha is dead. Don't you? No. It stays dead.
All right, let's speed run some news. Unfortunately, we do have to kick off with some layoff news once again. So this is Take-Two has closed Intercept Games and Roll7 in an effort to streamline organizational structure. This is a reduction of the workforce by about 5%, which is roughly 70 people. This is according to Bloomberg and Jason Schreier. We have also heard, though, that private division staff have been affected by these layoffs. GameIndustry.biz has heard that the vast majority of the label's teams in Seattle, New York, Las Vegas, and Munich have been let go. Now, this is the same company that has just published No Rest for the Wicked.
Yeah.
So that's an interesting and horrible timing. Yeah, just a continued bummer of a year. Well, 2 years now, I guess, for the industry.
Reminds me a little bit of the Broken Roads situation where they were with Versus Evil, and then their parent company, I can't remember what they're called, Tiny Build, laid off basically like the entire team there. So hopefully development on that continues. You'd think it would.
Oh yeah, I'd imagine
Yeah,
so. Like
yeah.
it's a prestige team. But yeah.
I was saddened. One of the games affected was Kerbal Space Program 2, which I think is still in early access. So how that's going to affect its roadmap is going to be significant. It's a title I was quite looking forward to. The first Kerbal Space Program is something of a cult classic.
Absolutely.
Mm.
Over at Sony Interactive Entertainment, though, they had they did, and now they've kind of reversed a thorough shitting of the bed with Helldivers 2. So obviously this is the game that's blown up, been one of the biggest multiplayer experiences of the year. They announced that PC players would have to make a PSN account if they wanted to continue playing, which my understanding was always the intention for Helldivers 2, but because of the overwhelming success of the game, their like sign up process got a bit overloaded, so they paused it and said, "Oh yeah, Nathan."
That is okay. So it's been dug up that they actually changed their terms of service. Their terms of service
Oh.
never originally said that. They've retroactively changed it and pretended that no one would look.
Damn.
So yeah,
They-
it was
that's
never
slimy.
it was never mandatory that you were going to have to make a Sony
Okay.
account. But now they're saying that
Gotcha.
that was the plan the whole time. Didn't you check the terms of service? People did. You lied. So that
But
wasn't
they'll just
great
lie
for him
about it,
either.
Yeah. No, well, I can't imagine so. And obviously, people reacted very badly to this, culminated in over 250,000 negative Steam reviews, which is just an absurd number, right? And I think that the review bombing is 95% of the time a nightmare. And then this is like the 5% of the time where it's actually a consumer tool that's been used to effectively communicate the desires of the mass consumer to a company as big as Sony Interactive Entertainment.
I think it's the last time we've seen a bombing of this scale. Like it was like half
No.
of the existing reviews effectively
Yeah.
changed.
Mm-hmm. The graphs look wild. It's just like it plummets.
Yeah.
And you know, like anyway. So Arrowhead seemed to kind of vaguely agree with consumers. There was a couple of community posts that seemed very not great. It very much seemed like a division between Arrowhead and Sony on this one. They have now backed down on this choice, though. Very much a "We Hear You" post went out on Twitter. Yeah, I think it's good to be able to see people communicate clearly, hey, no, like we won't be doing this to a company as big as Sony. I think that it's a pretty anti-consumer thing to sell this game for full price for months and then implement this in the back end, especially if they're going back and changing terms of service and stuff like that. That's very messy behavior. And just a weird thing to do to a game that had so much positive buzz around it.
On that, this mandate of a Sony account, there was something like 250 countries or something that Sony do not provide this account in.
190, I believe. Yeah.
A considerable number, which means that people that
Mhm.
purchase this game are effectively, if they want to play by Sony's rules, cannot play the game any longer.
Yeah.
And if they do make a Sony account, then their account is at risk of effectively being, I don't know, sequestered by Sony. That wouldn't happen, but you're doing the wrong thing according to them. So
yeah, absolutely.
leaving folks out in the cold after they've purchased the game, being you cannot play this anymore.
Yeah.
They've reversed
Messy.
it, though.
They have, fortunately. So, nothing to contribute, Zach. You just
Oh, I don't really. Well, I didn't know at the beginning that there was accounts. Sorry, there's accounts. There were countries that you can't make accounts in, or that many, right? Like that is a very bizarre move. Because I just assumed it was just big company wants your data, like makes sense, right? What's the harm? But then when you hear that like there's 100 nearly 200 countries that if you bought it like you couldn't play it, it's like, well, what an idiot. Like, why would you do that?
Yeah, great.
There you go.
Christie, do you have any thoughts on I guess like use of these systems like user reviews to sort of communicate on the part of the consumer, especially when like primarily when we hear about these things, it's in a negative context, right? It's because a game has a diverse lead or whatever it is, how do you think they should draw these lines or manage this?
Yeah, like I think in a case like this, it's fair enough. Like if it's a bigger studio and they're going to do something that is going to take your game away from you, then fair enough if you change your Steam review or whatever to be like, actually, no. But I think in a lot of cases it's used for evil, like when it's with smaller developers. Yeah, like review bombing in general is not the best practice. It's pretty harsh. Like some of the stuff over time that we've seen it happen for. But what like obviously it works because in this case it got them to reverse something that was like really unfair. So
Yeah.
I don't know, like doing doing a morally grey thing, but it's getting the results that it needs to. So
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
Was Cyberpunk review bombed back in the day?
Must have been. Right.
It wasn't beloved on Metacritic in terms of user score, but
Yeah,
steamrolled.
well, definitely word of mouth it was. Like people were like,
Oh,
oh, this game's terrible, blah, blah, blah. And then
Mm-hmm.
you'd kind of be like, oh, okay, did you play it? Did you have those issues? And they're like, well, no, I heard that
I heard.
from
Yeah.
I heard that from someone. It's like, right, so you never played it yourself, but you know this to be a fact. Okay.
Yeah.
I think most of the
I think that got a bad rap.
I think most of the issues that I heard were people just were performance wise.
Yeah.
Because like I had
also, like
yeah.
I didn't have that problem when I played it on PS4, so I guess
right. Okay.
random
PS4 full
random
or
luck.
PS4 Pro?
Or Pro.
No, not Pro, original.
I like a base. Oh, the jet engine taking off. Love
so
it.
It didn't crash really. So
I had okay. I'll tell you. I wasn't going to tell you this story because it's a bit nothing. But now that you played on the same platform, I kind of want to get this out there. But I had a guy that I worked with who was so excited for this game. Only had a PS4.
I've heard this one.
Yeah, took the day off work, came into work, like he was like, hey, I've got it. I'm gonna go home and play it. Yeah, sweet, good on him. Like 3 hours, like 4 hours later, whatever it was, I'm getting text messages. Dude, what is this? Like, this is a joke. Like, wasn't this advertised as the PS4 game? Things don't load. Blah blah. Like the performance is so bad. He then went out. He was on the verge of like spending $1,000 on a PS5 like that, like the next day through like a scalper because he wanted to play this game so badly, and he felt so shafted by CD Projekt Red because of the way that it ran on PS4. But yeah, I've not heard anybody who's had a good experience on PS4. So there you go.
But yeah, like not enough that it was crashing or anything. Like just odd little glitches.
Had a similar thing with Starfield actually, where like my entire 25 hours with that game in the review period, I had minimal bugs, right? And then suddenly as soon as it goes wide, it's like crashing. It's just a total broken mess for everybody. And so it's really weird when my review doesn't really talk about that. It's like, oh yeah, it's a pretty stable Bethesda game. And then suddenly it's just completely shit the bed for everybody. It was a weird moment. You never really quite know how other people's consoles are going to react now, apparently. But
yeah, so strange.
Yeah.
Luck of the draw.
That's it. That is it. Tell you what, I'm feeling pretty lucky as a Resident Evil fan, though. That was terrible, but we're here now. Semi-reliable leaker Dust Golem, who we talked about before, is the person who leaked that RE9 is potentially going sort of open world, open zone, has now saying that RE9 probably going to be revealed relatively soon and aiming for roughly a January 2025 launch window. I guess it's time, right? Like RE4 had its moment. We've moved on from that now.
When did 8 come out? 2021? No.
22?
Got to be 22, surely.
22?
22? 22 feels right.
Let's get a fact check, eh?
Let's do.
Tap.
2021.
Oh, there you go. Yeah, so it's been a while since your mainline entry.
And then you got the DLC. You got Rose's old mate, or whatever it's called.
That's true. Yeah. RE9. Get excited. There's not really much to talk about there. I like talking about RE. So.
Do you?
We do.
I heard other news that that was delayed, or maybe that was from the same dude.
It was the same leaker had talked about internal delay.
And then they might be revealing another spin-off or something instead.
Interesting.
I thought I read that. Maybe I didn't. I don't know.
Okay.
Are you a big
play whatever they do next.
RE fan, Christie?
No, I would cry. But no chance.
Don't do horror games?
No.
Okay.
Just my Daggerfall level.
Like the closest I've done to that is like Until Dawn, and that was bad enough.
Okay. What if we did like a cozy umbrella game where you could like design a little lab?
But yeah, like
to kill people.
There's stuff where it like those kind of like more puzzle type games or like indie unique art style type thing where it crosses over with that, I don't mind.
Yeah.
Like the Rusty Lake games, there's some jump scares in there, but
Oh yeah.
they're like very simple puzzle game. I can stomach that.
Yeah.
But like, yeah, gore or like, yeah, anything that intense. No, I don't think I can do it.
I wonder how My Friendly Neighborhood would go. Remember when I was talking about that one last week?
Vaguely
Resident
remember,
Evil,
yeah.
courtesy of like Sesame Street.
Oh. Yeah,
Um,
It got me a few times.
Look, that's it. Speaking of things for kids, Nintendo has that was for Zach. A little shout out for Zach there. Switch 2 will be unveiled sometime in this financial year. This is directly from Nintendo themselves. They've announced a direct in June, but they very quickly jumped on Twitter and were like, "Hey, you're not going to see the Switch 2 here. We are getting ready to announce it though. Just wait a little bit longer." Basically, yeah, I like it. Transparency, it's good. 141 million Switches sold. I think that's an insane number. Yeah. Chrissy, are you a Switch person?
Yeah. I didn't get one until maybe like 2 years into its life cycle.
Okay.
But then very quickly, like I would say like for the first year that I had it, that up until like 2020 maybe, I feel like there wasn't a lot on there that I wanted to play. And then through the pandemic and since then, it's been a staple for me. Yeah. So definitely interested to see what they're doing with it next.
Not for nothing, she's got quite the speckled red library in the back there.
Yes.
That is true. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. There's more than just that, but yes.
Yeah, right. I mean, that's
Dude, you should see the PlayStation on the other side of the room. Much bigger shelf. Much bigger shelf.
oh boy.
I think Zach wants to bring us home with a little bit of Broken Sword.
well, from our chat the other day, it's just two very, very quick ones. I'll just give you the headlines. Basically, both Broken Sword games are delayed. The new entry, the 6th entry, Parsable Stone, is coming. Didn't really give a date. It was dated for 2024, late 24, I guess. 2BD, TBD now. And then the Reforged, the remaster of the original that was going to launch in June, but probably just a couple months away while they polish it up. You can get all that info in our interview that we mentioned earlier.
That's it.
Cheers. Like, share, subscribe, or whatever you do.
That's it. That's the news.
Nice stuff. All right, let's go to the off topics, and we'll kick it off with 2000's Film of the Week. And our lovely guest, Christie, is going to take the reins here. So let's go. What do you got for us?
All right. So I'm not going to go with the movie that I accidentally revealed to you earlier when you asked me to do this segment. Because that's probably just going to ruin the fun. Then you don't have anything to guess, right?
I know.
Okay, I'll give you a choice. I have a hard option or an easier option. Which do you want?
Hard.
Want the hard one?
Lean all the way in. Let's do it.
Okay. All right, let's have that reload for me.
Imagine if it's Pokemon 3.
Don't.
Okay. In a distant future where Earth has been destroyed by hostile aliens, Cale Tucker embarks on a mission to find a giant ship that can create a new planet for humans.
Okay.
You said you wanted the hard one.
I'm going to start throwing some titles out there. Lost in Space?
No.
All right.
Is this that that Will Smith one he did with his son?
After Earth.
Yeah.
No.
Okay.
No. Let me know if you need clues.
Is it animated?
Cale Tucker?
Yes.
Titan AE?
Yes. Yes. Well done.
Wow.
I thought... Is that not your shit, Zach? Are you not a Titan AE fan?
Never seen it.
No, just purely Treasure Planet. That's as far sci-fi as you kick it. Okay.
Yeah,
cool.
see,
No,
I feel
fucked with
that
Titan AE.
in my mind, it's linked with that kind of
Well,
Treasure
yeah,
Planet.
I mean,
Yeah.
Titan AE was my first guess, but I was like, it's probably not animated. Okay, cool. Yeah, lovely.
Oh,
Got it.
I've never,
Well done. I guess it wasn't that hard.
I've never heard of this before.
Oh, really? This
You
was
should
quite
watch
an
it. It's a great
impressive
movie even
animated.
now.
Did it? Was it? Who was
Looks
one of
almost
the main
like
voice actors? Was it Matt Damon?
literally not gonna lie, it looks like bloody the two
it
characters
was Matt
from
Damon.
Broken Sword.
It was Matt Damon. Cool, cool, cool. No,
Yeah.
I dug this back in the day.
Yeah, me
Huh.
too.
Yeah, right. So how
It's on
we
the list.
how rotten is this bad boy?
Ooh, 61.
Mm.
Okay.
Respectable.
Yeah.
Most
I think I was
successful
drawn in
on
more
the
by
list.
the animation animation than anything at the time. It was
Mm.
yeah, real cool.
Nice. Good choice. Good choice. That one. Well done.
Thank you.
I would have thought you'd like that, Zach.
Didn't even know
Mm.
but you know, it's if you say it's up my Treasure Planet alley, I'll give it a razz, eh?
Mm.
Definitely should.
Raz.
Speaking of razzes, I went and watched Baby Reindeer based on your recommendation, Nathan.
Okay. Mm-hmm. Big
Full on.
watch.
Full on.
It is full on. Thank you. Yeah.
There's
Yeah, you got to be in the right headspace for that.
There's one episode. Has everyone else seen this yet?
No,
ahead, Matt.
I'm vaguely aware of what happens in it, but I have not
What?
watched it.
Yeah, I mean, this is not a spoiler, but there's this one episode that I felt went a little bit too long, and felt a lot too paddy. But then I guess when you get to the end,
I know
guess
what you're talking about.
Yeah. It just kind of it makes sense, but it kind of lost
At
me.
the time, it's quite jarring.
Yeah.
What's the significance of this?
Yeah, because it's so like full on, and then it's just kind of not in a way.
Yeah, it takes us
Yeah.
puts on the handbrake real sharp halfway through.
Yeah. But yeah, I think Crazy Town, eh? Wild. I think the person who is the female, she is a very good actor. She plays that part
yes.
phenomenally. And he's quite good. I actually didn't realize that was him. He was the writer, and I thought at first it was just an actor.
Yeah, it's his story.
Yeah,
Don't
yeah.
get lost in the details, I'd say, but yeah,
And then
it's
like
unsettling.
halfway through, I realized I'm like, oh, he's the actual guy, and I was like, yeah, you idiot! Like, how'd you not know?
I'm loving that at least once every 12 months, Netflix is putting out a very short form limited series, 6 or so episodes, 30 minutes, it just punches. Like the last one I can think of was Beef. I loved Beef, and I don't think I was alone in that.
Yeah, right.
This one hits a bit similar as well for me.
I'm not sure if I finished Beef.
Ooh, I love the finish.
I have to go back.
Mm.
Very good. Anybody else watched anything they want to talk about or share?
I went and saw Challenges, the hot tennis movie.
Was it hot?
Loved it.
Okay.
Had a great time. I really, really like that guy's work. His Suspiria remake is one of my all-time favorite movies. But this is just obviously sprinting in the opposite direction.
The cannibal film was real good too. Bones and all.
Oh, I haven't seen that
with
one yet.
Timothy Chalamet.
Little Timmy boy. Yeah.
Yeah, it's good.
I really liked Zendaya in Dune Part 2 earlier this year. That was the first time I properly had like I see why people like this actress so much. And then Challenges, I was like, that's a fucking movie star. Like it's such a nice like upward trajectory for me. But yeah, like really fun movie, incredible camera work. The score is just one of the best I've ever heard.
Didn't Trent Reznor do the score?
Yeah. Trent Reznor and Atricia Ross, is it? I think it's the same
Atticus
duo
Ross.
from
Atticus Ross,
9 Inch Nails.
Nice Nails, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, they do some
Atticus
weird
was,
shit.
he only got added like a few years back. I think Atticus did. It was always big
Okay.
old
Yeah.
T-Dog.
We got T-Dog. But yeah, highly recommend it. Challenges. Cinema is back.
Probably going to hate me asking this, but have you actually watched Euphoria?
Oh, God, no.
No, because she fucking kills it on there. But yeah, I figured
I
that you had a
believe it.
distaste for it.
I just don't.
You don't wanna go near
I'm
it.
past the point in my life where I think I need a show about high schoolers. Even if it is like the cool Gen X sexy.
I
one
get
or
it.
whatever.
I get it. I
yeah.
get it. Yeah,
No,
I
OC
think you're well
rewatch for you?
informed in your opinion. Yeah.
Gen Z, whatever.
Mm.
Kids these days,
It's a rough watch as well.
It
Oh,
is.
okay.
It's heavy.
If,
Yeah.
if you're not
Yeah.
into that, then yeah.
Yeah. I quite like is it Hunter Schafer? Is that her name?
Yeah.
Yeah. Fantastic. So yeah.
Mm.
I'm glad that those kids are out doing good things now, let's say.
Nice. Christy, how about you?
Well, I suppose I can say the movie that was the 2000s movie
I
that I just
guess, yeah.
watched.
Oh, you did just watch it. That's unusual
Yeah.
for us.
So I watched a 2000s movie last night for the first time that's called The Sweetest Thing. It's got like Cameron Diaz, Christina Applegate,
Oh.
some other people. I don't know. And yeah, I really like trashy 2000s movies. And for some reason I hadn't seen that
You've
one,
come to
but
the right
even
place.
that, yeah, it was the right thing to watch, but also I was just like, what is going on the whole time? So if you want a movie like that, then watch it. It's a
Yeah,
nice
this is-
distraction for, hour and a half.
This is
Yeah.
absolutely a certain era of early 2000s, like
Yes.
rom-com, if you would
Yeah.
call it that. Yeah, I remember this flavor all too well. Free-to-air TV definitely kept me entertained for many hours with this stuff.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
There's also just a few very over the top sexual jokes on there that I was just like, wow, okay, that really wouldn't fly now, like 20 years later.
Yeah.
Mm. Good stuff.
As for myself, I wrapped up my Breaking Bad watch. It's just so easy to jump through. But at the same time, sort of as I was taking breaks in between, I was watching Malcolm in the Middle. And I'd never really gotten into it before because, shit childhood, I wasn't allowed to watch that. As soon as I hit season 2, it really starts like the horses are off to the races. It's so bloody good. And it's incredible watching Bryan Cranston effectively perform a very similar, at times, very similar, like visceral acting in Breaking Bad in Malcolm in the Middle. But because the context is so different, you don't appreciate just how fucking good he is because you're laughing. But he's like that horrifying menace of Walter White is very much there in Hank at times. He just goes sicko mode. I love it. I think it's so good. I'm so glad to pick it up all these years later, and it just hits. And the mum, Lois, oh, she is phenomenal.
watch-
She is a wicked woman.
Your Honor with Walter.
The what,
Walter. Your Honor with Walter White. Oh no, fuck! I said it again with Bryan Cranston in it.
With Bryan Cranston in it. What's it called?
Your Honor.
Your Honor. Oh,
TV show.
No, yeah, I know this one. Was it any good? Like, I've not enjoyed a lot of the stuff that he starred in after Breaking Bad.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then no. It's worth watching. How do I do it without? All I'll say is that if this was a one and done, it'd be fine. It probably doesn't need a second season.
Which it has.
Yeah. I've not watched the second season, so it was just like, eh. But I thought it was quite good. He was very good at it, of course.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
Do you know what he was in that was good after Breaking Bad? Was the Power Rangers movie. I like that movie.
I did too, and I forgot that he was in it.
Yeah,
That was way better than it had any right to be.
it was. It really
So
was.
annoyed it didn't get a follow-up. They're just going to reboot it again.
Agreed.
What about the OG Power Rangers, with Ivan Ooze and... Nah. Okay.
I mean, like yes, but also I don't know what to pick up here.
How do you remember OG Power Rangers and actors' names like that? He's a part of my brain that's gone, mate.
I think Ivan Ooze was not
Rent-free.
the actor.
Didn't most of them end up in porn or something? Like,
Well, the Red Ranger did.
did
But I
they?
think he's also
Really?
a Republican now as well.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah,
you go.
concerning, eh?
It's taken parody to a whole new level, eh? Anyway. All right.
Cheers.
Anything else that everyone's watched?
I'm good.
Nothing good. I need to watch challenges now, and I appreciate your recommendation
Oh,
on that, James.
Yes, please do. Message me
I've
as
been
soon as you
been
see
wanting
it.
to watch it. So
Yeah.
that-
Go,
the
like
cherry.
my recommendation. This is to anybody who wants to see challenges, like a big cinema if possible. Like you want loud for that movie. Yeah,
Does it make you want to go play tennis?
absolutely. Yeah, like I love tennis. Like
Really?
I'm not terrible at it either. Yeah, I haven't played for quite some time though. But yes, it did make me be like, what if in my 30s I got back into tennis?
So how come you didn't want to review
hooked up with
Topspin,
Mr.
mate?
Topspin.
Yeah.
Oh no, not in a video game. That's no. I
Disappointing.
like
disappointing.
Kojima boring, not sports boring in games.
Yeah, nicely done.
Yeah.
All right, cool. Amazing stuff. Christie, thank you so much for being here. It's been a pleasure to have you on. Yeah, welcome back anytime. Where can people find you? I actually meant to ask you this at the very, very start, but I got sidetracked by the three fire questions. But where can people find your work?
So I'm a freelancer, but mostly you'll find my reviews and stuff on Games Hub. And then I also kind of just post my own stuff on like Instagram, Twitter, X, whatever you want to call it, all that, at Aurelincian. Yeah, that's probably the two best places to find me.
Nice. We'll leave some links in articles or whatever thing whatever written thing we put up for this.
Yes.
Yeah, but yeah, thank you once again. It's been great. Yes. If you want to check out any of the content, you go to www.well-played.com.au. Nathan, James, thank you. And everybody else,
Thank you, Zach.
You're welcome. And have a great evening and weekend.
Thank you so much.
Cheerio.
Bye.
Yeah.
Bye.